7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's the Sit and Pie Show. It's the Sit and Pie Show. It's the Sit and Pie Show. It's the Sit and Pie Show.
Tonight's Sit and Pie welcome Wayne Dunning, Decatur basketball legend. We'll talk about Wayne's playing career and his current endeavors. Sit back, have some pie, and enjoy the show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Sit and Pie Show. Tonight, we are honored and excited to have a very, very special guest, one of the great all-around players in the history of the CCIW. And despite his greatness on the court, the greatness that he's doing, the great things he's doing right now as Bishop of the Faith Fellowship Christian Church outweighs all of his accomplishments on the court. He's doing some incredible work in his community. We want to welcome the legendary, stunning Wayne Dunning. Wayne, welcome to the Sit and Pie Show.
Thank you, Mark and Chris. Thank you so much for the invite. And I just tell you what, I am elated. I'm excited. When we got in touch with each other during the Christmas season, and you said you had a show, and I said, "Hey, that's awesome, man! I really am. I'm really humbled by the fact that you even thought of me, and I'm just excited to be on your show tonight."
Well, Wayne, we want to kind of trace your career, starting maybe in your high school years at Lakeview High School in Decatur. Tell us a little bit about your experience at Lakeview and what led you to go to Milliken.
Yeah, that's a good question. I grew up in Decatur. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois, Mark, and I was on the west side of Chicago. And then, as you know, you recall, in 1968, Martin Luther King was shot and killed, and then there was some riots going on in Chicago. It was really racially divided in the area, and so my mom just decided to follow grandma and move on down to Decatur, Illinois at 9 years, when I was 8 or 9 years old, and and so I went to Lakeview, high school at Lakeview High School, and had a pretty good career there. We won a few games, and I decided I took all my trips, Mark. At the time, remember, they gave us 6 trips free. Right. And I took all the trips to all the schools, but I knew I was going to go to Milliken University. Coach Ramsey and Coach Littrell kind of followed me the whole season. I always saw these 2 guys up in the stands. They looked like 2 spies, But they came and watched almost probably 60, 70% of my games. And so I kind of knew I was going to go to Milliken University.
Okay. Well, we'll get to them later. And I always knew they were smart coaches. And I would have been at 100% of your games if I was recruiting you. But just to let our followers know about Wayne's career at Milliken, Wayne was a first-team All-CCIW player 3 straight years: 1981, 82, and 83. He was a CCIW Most Outstanding Player in 1983. He was also an Academic All-American in 1983. 1,456 career points, 866 career rebounds. Now, I had the pleasure or unpleasure of playing against Wayne. And Wayne had just incredible physical assets, what I like to call them. Wayne had huge hands, an incredible wingspan, great jumping ability, great timing, quick jumper, and just was a force. I don't know if there was ever a player that I saw, and I've been involved in the CCIW as a player, coach, and follower and fan for 40 plus years now. I don't know if there's ever been a better player at both ends of the floor than Wayne. Wow. As good as he was offensively, he was disruptive defensively, blocking shots. Milliken used to run a 1-3-1 half-court press, and Wayne was at the top.
Wow, you got a good memory.
You remember that, Wayne? And it was almost impossible to get the ball across half court with Wayne at the top of that press. And I remember when we were preparing for Milliken, when I was a player at North Park, there was no way we could simulate having somebody at the top like Wayne with that wingspan. So we actually had somebody hold up a broom at the top of the press to try to simulate Wayne's wingspan, which was impossible to do. But
Yeah,
Wayne, your career was really, really terrific from start to finish. Tell us about your experience at Milliken.
Well, Mark, thank you for the great accolades. Oh my goodness, I got to hang around you more often. You and Chris are just awesome. I started as a freshman. In the first 6 games, I thought, man, I'm a failure because I had planned on starting, and my first game, and Coach Ramsey, as smart as he was, probably used it as an incentive, but also we had this big 6'11" guy, and he was a junior or senior, and he was, he's just a big guy. He just took up a lot of space, and you can't teach 6'11", right? And so about the 6th game, Coach Ramsey made a good decision. He said, "Okay, Wayne, you need to. We're going to start you." And so it started from there. And my incentive was to just not just to start, but to also to be a leader on the team as a freshman. I didn't want anybody to beat me in the sprints. Nobody would. I didn't want anybody shooting better free throw percentage, and they did. I just had my goals were. I always talk, if the ball goes up and it's a rebound, it's yours. You got to go get it. And if a pass needs to be made, you got to make it. And it was those 10 little 2-letter words, Mark. You know about them. If it is to be, it is up to me. And I really was inspired by that. Although I was a team player, I took it upon myself to do my part, my role, and it just so happened that if that ball was around, I wanted the ball, offensively or defensively. And thank you for the defensive compliment, because a lot of people look at the dunks and all those in the passes, and what they don't, what I really am most proud of, actually, is my academic All-American status my senior year. I am. If there's a proud certificate, the one that I'm most proud of, I show that to my son and to kids in school. Hey guys, you need to, it's not only what you do on the court, but more importantly, what you do off the court. And but also when you mention the defensive part, there's 2 sides to basketball, right? You get on one side, you got to play offense. That's the fun part. But the tough part, you got to stop that guy. You got to stop that guys in the other uniform. So, and I enjoyed that part. I really enjoyed playing defense.
Okay.
My freshman year at North Park, I was a fan. I played soccer there. I didn't play basketball, but I remember walking into the gym. It was one of the first North Park games I ever went to, and it was Milliken, and I'm seeing you, and I don't remember a lot of things, but I remember, like, this guy is not of the same world as everybody else on the court. And that was in the layup line. Like, I was watching the layup line, and you're like, I don't think you could dunk in layup lines back then. I don't remember, but you were like way off in the hemisphere, and your amazing ability to leap and take, like, it was a problem for North Park that night. I remember that.
Oh my good, Chris, yeah. I remember that, and I remember Michael Harper. I remember Thomas. I remember Mozell Greer. I remember those guys, and because they were a nemesis, and they had won 3 straight championships, I believe, in 79, 78, maybe 78, 79, 80, I believe.
Right.
And they just had a phenomenal team, and just one sweet night. Milliken just got lucky one night. We played the best of our ability. We went up to North Park. Nobody beats North Park at North Park. Nobody.
Back then,
but we went up there one night, and magic happened according to Milliken. And we had a little magic that night, and somehow we got Harper, but then later on in the year they just kind of took care of business. Had their way with us. They had their way with everybody.
Hey, Wayne, a quick question for you. You had 466 rebounds or 866 rebounds, right?
Yeah.
Which is 4th all time at Milliken. Roger Lotchkin had one more than you did. He had 460 or 867 back with 1953 to 57. Does that still eat at you that you didn't get to third on the all-time rebound list?
I'm kind of mad at our official score. I never said anything. I've never said anything to this guy, but he's a good guy. I just was, you know how you after the game you kind of look at some stats and kind of see what's going on, and I was like, hey, you missed an assist, and you missed a rebound, Reg, and so he just, but we didn't say. He was our sports information director. We respected him, and we just, I look at that and I go, man, if I'd got one more rebound, if I'd eaten one more biscuit in the morning, I would have had, I'd be second,
Right.
Third, so.
Yeah. Hey, Wayne, one of the connections between high school and college was the fact that you got to play with the great Eddie Taylor.
Oh, wow. That's a great name right there.
Well, yeah, I remember Eddie was a left-handed guy who could really shoot the ball, and that had to been nice for you to be able to play in college with a guy that you played with in high school.
I played with Eddie since 5th grade and at Durfee Grade School. Then we played at Thomas Jefferson Middle School. Then we went to high school together. And then I graduated and I went to Milliken. Eddie graduated the following year. And he went on to Belleville Area Community College, and I was just bugging him all summer. Hey, man, you ought to go to where these big time players are, And we finally convinced him to transfer over from Belleville Community College to Milliken, and it was one of the best decisions I believe he made. And I'm so thankful that he made that decision because he made my job a whole lot easier. He made my assist total go way up.
Right.
That story reminds me of a North Park connection where we had Justin Monaghan and Ernest Hubbard, same high school proviso, and then played at North Park together. And Justin convinced Ernie to come over.
Yes.
And my question for Mark, I told Mark before the show I got a question for him. I'm going to put him on a spot. But Mark, all right. It's you gotta pick one of the two duos. Which one do you pick, Ernie and Justin, or Eddie and Wayne?
Oh,
he's a Viking, man. He's got to go with Ernie and Justin.
I gotta go with the two that won the national championship. I'm sorry, with all due respect to Wayne.
I know.
All right.
That was a softball. That was easy, man. That wasn't hard.
Hey, Wayne, we touched a little bit on Coach Ramsey and Coach Littrell. We had a lot of rivalries at North Park. We had a good rivalry with Illinois Wesleyan and Augustana and Wheaton, and eventually North Central got really good. It was tough. It was tough to have a rivalry with Millikin, even though you guys were really good. And part of that is because that Coach Ramsey and Coach Littrell were just the nicest, great competitors, gentlemen that you could go up against. And it was difficult to really formulate a lot of anger or hatred toward them. What was it like playing for them? We had great competition, but they to me, they were just terrific guys.
They are two of the most influential guys in my life. Coach Ramsey recruited me, and he just told me he understood my passion for staying with my mother right here in Decatur. And on campus, I said, I want to stay on campus, but I want to stay in town. And I wanted to, so he made sure that my Division III, there were no athletic scholarships, but I got a job. He somehow got me a job at the bank, and I was got some financial aid packages that were very, very, and I got some other scholarships, some Sons of American Revolution scholarships, some other scholarships that came in, and that convinced me, to go to Milliken. But Coach Littrell is probably one of the most influential guys. He's still in my life. He and his family. He was relatable. Of course, he was closer to me in age. He was probably 5-6 years older. So I just related to Coach Littrell, and I love Coach Ramsey's work ethic and his attention to detail, his X's and O's. But Coach Littrell was the fire. He was the one that got all of us going. And but they're hard guys to hate. They're just hard guys to
exactly,
because they love the sport. They wanted you to compete. If you just competed, they were satisfied with that. With wins or losses, as long as you competed. Coach Littrell always said, just compete. and he would always tell me, find a way. You know, when we were back then, you know, they didn't have rules about, you know, getting drinks and timeouts and how many practices. You know, the coach your coach just ran us till we halfway died, you know.
Right.
And Coach Litchell one time told me, he said, I said, Coach, it's tough, you know, and I was a freshman, all these seniors, and one of the seniors said, um, hey, you know, he started vomiting and puking up and everything. And he told Coach, he asked Coach, hey, Coach, I need a break. Coach Litchell said, find a way. Find a way to get to the end. Those three words have always influenced me. Somehow, Wayne, whatever I'm doing, whatever endeavor that I pursue, find a way. And that has stuck with me. So yeah, those two guys are phenomenal. And I've always admired. We stayed in touch with each other after basketball. They went to my Hall of Fame dinner. I had the Hall of Fame dinner. I don't know if you know this, Mark, at the Hall of Fame dinner at Decatur Athletic Hall of Fame dinner. Dr. J. Julius, yeah. Dr. J. Irving was the speaker.
We were going to bring that up, Wayne. We knew that he was one of your idols growing up, and that's an incredible story that you actually got to meet, you know, your boyhood rival at some point.
Yeah.
And there was some similarities in the games between you and Doc, but they had been a thrill.
Yeah, I kind of tried to emulate Doc. You know, I tried to grow the afro until we got this thing called the California curl. You remember the California curl, Mark?
I remember it. Yep.
You remember the shaking afro?
Yep.
But I had the hands, and he's the only guy. I put my hands up against his hands, and the Doc was the only guy. I looked at my hands and looked at his hands, and his hands were longer and bigger than my hands. I said, oh my goodness, I've met my match. And he was such a gentleman. He was such a nice guy. We shared some stories, but he was so eloquent and so courteous and so just humble, you know. And I met my childhood. I actually got to meet Bob Love, one of my childhood, 12 years old. I met Bob Love when one of the big guys here in Decatur, Illinois, one of the food pantry guys in Decatur, Illinois, sent me to a Bulls camp at 12 years old. So I met Bob Love and Norm Bentley, Tom Borwinkle, Roland Garrett, you know, all those names. Right. Jerry Sloan when he was a player. They played in Lake, what was it? Lake County
Lake Forest?
College. It wasn't College of DePage. What was it? Lake County or look? I can't remember where they played, but we had Lake Forest. And and so we went up there and we stayed a whole week. But meeting Dr. J was the epitome because he was the guy I always wanted to be like, you know.
Right.
Hey, when you wore 34, was that for sweetness?
Yeah, you know it was. How'd you know? Actually, it wasn't. But I always wore 34 in respect, you know, in looking back. Walter Payton, obviously, you know, they have an award after him because of his integrity, his service off the field, and I got to meet Walter Payton as well. I got to meet Bob Love, Julius Irving, Mike Singletary, Walter Payton. Are you kidding me? You know, people don't get to meet their heroes, but we got to meet their heroes. But it was honor. Since fourth grade, 34, I wore it in fourth, fifth grade, sixth grade. And I just said, you know what, that's a pretty good number. And I just kept it. Matter of fact, one other guy had 34 my freshman year. And I asked Coach Ramsey if I could have 34. And the guy switched. As a matter of fact, my good friend David Kupish, who was on one of the teams, the Milliken team, I went to Lakeview as well with him. And he wore 34 his 2 years there. And he switched with me. He's just honored and said, hey, man, you take 34, I'll take 30. And that was pretty neat. Of a junior to the yield to a freshman. Yeah. His number. You know what? That's unbelievable. You know.
Right. Right. Yeah. One more thing on Coach Ramsey. I don't know if a lot of people know this. Some of the older CCIW followers of our show would, but Coach Ramsey was actually the coach at Oklahoma in 1974 and 1975, and he coached future NBA Rookie of the Year Alvin Adams there.
Alvin Adams was something else.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. But Wayne, after now your career's over at Milliken, and it's time to look at what you're going to do post-college. And you actually had 4 tryouts with 4 different NBA teams.
Sure did.
Yeah, tell us about those.
Well, that was interesting because there were Indianapolis Pacers, Washington Bullets, the Phoenix Suns, and the Chicago Bulls. And 3 of those tryouts were invites, just, hey, come up and see what you can do. And the 4th one was in Washington, D.C. And Mayor Gary Anderson, I needed $600 an airplane ticket. And the mayor said, hey, go for it. He gave me first time I'd ever flown, he gave me a ticket, and we went to Washington, D.C. And it was the crowds. All the trials were unbelievable. I mean, 400, 500, 600 guys. And Mark, here's what would happen. Sometimes James Shue, I think Hick Model was there. One time he told if a guy was in a layup line and he just kind of flipped up the ball, we had a layup line, and he'd say, number 38 with the bandana and the blue socks, get out of my gym. And he wasn't so nice with his words, but it was that serious. When 400 guys get turned down to about 100 guys, the second day it gets down to 50 guys, and the third day it gets down to about 25 guys, and then we go at it for 5 days till Friday. And I was in the top 12. They gave me evaluation and all of that. I just, timing is everything. Timing is everything. And so they just didn't need my size. I was a tweener. Right. I was sort of an Adrian Dantley type guy, 6'5", 6'6", and just wasn't. They needed a 6'8" or 6'2" guard. They didn't have Magic. Magic was just in the league then, and a 6'8", 6'9" guard. That wasn't my forte, handling the ball. So I was just kind of in a tweener, and they liked what they saw, but I just couldn't fit at the time, And I was okay with that. Good trying out. It was just great trying out, man. Just a phenomenal time.
I bet. Okay. Now, all right, Wayne, you come back, you're looking to, start a career, your life post-college.
Yeah.
What brought you into your ministry?
Okay. You know what? Before, I was always I don't want to say religious, but I always had a faith. I had a strong faith. My mother, my family, my grandmother, my grandfather, we had a strong faith. And I never thought I'd be, in ministry. Before that, of course, I started an insurance agency, Dunning Insurance and Financial Services. For 20 years, I was an insurance agent, and I did pretty well in insurance business. And the Lord was tugging at me. I felt like a calling from the Lord to teach and preach the gospel. And I did that for just kind of tugged at me for about 7, 8, 10 years. And I finally, immediately, when it said it's time, and December 27th of 1998, I became licensed as a minister. And then in 2001, I became ordained as a minister of the gospel. And I've been, founded our own church, Faith Fellowship Christian Church, in 2001. And we're in our 21st year now, and it's been a wonderful struggle. The most amazing struggle I've ever been. It's tougher than playing against North Park and Augie, man.
Well, you do some amazing work, not only for the people of your church, but for the Decatur community as well. You really have made it your life's work, and I love following you daily on
Wow.
what you're doing, and it's really very, very special what you're doing, and just as a friend of yours, I'm just so impressed and proud of what you're doing for that community.
Mark and Chris, I just thank you. And Mark, you did something for me you didn't have to do, and I don't want to highlight this, but I do want to. We raise funds and money and kids, food and clothing and toys for kids and Thanksgiving. Some, you guys like you and myself and Chris, we, a good meal. We've never worried about a meal, never worried about clothes, We've never had a situation where the power bill was kind of, tough thing. And we just, Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's just a great time. And I just want to thank you and Chris, for thinking about us. You sent us a really nice donation. And you have touched people you'll probably never meet. And we probably fed about 500 people for Christmas, about 300 or 400 people for Thanksgiving, and just gave out toys and clothes and appliances and food and just so much. And you people would think, well, I'm just going to give this little bit, but that little bit, Mark, as you know, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and that little bit makes a big difference. And that big difference is smiles on people's faces, warm gloves and hats and clothes and toys and food in people's bellies who normally may not get a meal. And so thank you from my heart. And thank you and Chris for thinking of us. And we just, we're going to do our best, continue to do our best, you know.
Well, yeah, you're doing great work, Wayne. One thing that you're doing that I wanted to touch on was your basic basketball camp. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. Yes, BASIC is an acronym for Brothers and Sisters in Christ, and I've had a basketball camp, and we teach fundamentals. I mean, there's no, I don't frown upon it, but we teach basic chest pass. Mark, do you remember a basic chest pass? Do you remember bounce passes?
Bounce
Do you
from the
remember that?
top through the bottom.
Yes. Oh,
Absolutely.
come on, man.
Step to the guy you're throwing to.
Do you remember a layup, making a layup? Do you remember that? You know,
Yeah.
And those type of things. So we teach a lot. It's not the flashiest camp. It's not, but you know what? Those kids come back to me years later and they say, Mr. Dunning, thank you for making me appreciate a basic chest pass with with backspin rotation, so it doesn't, you know. And thank you for letting me know when to pass it, when the big guy wants it, not just to pass it in there and throw it in there. And I never allow one-handed passes, Mark. You know, I'm just old school. I'm like you, old school as can be. You know, and nobody walks in practice. You know, you can't walk. Basketball players don't walk. I mean, we just got little rules, but we teach basics, you know, and we just have a Christian camp, but it's just a whole lot of basketballs running around, bouncing around there too, you know. And we have a lot of fun. It's been our 21st year, and we're impressed with the kids. Our biggest camp was 130 some kids. Our smallest camp was maybe 35 or 40, but we don't care the size. We just come and hope we make a difference in some kid's life, you know.
Right. Well, a couple things before we wrap up, Wayne. One thing that Chris and I talked about last night that we have to bring up, and we had a show late last year. We had the great Levi Cobb from University of Illinois on as one of our panel guests, and they were all talking about guys that they had dunked on in their careers.
Right.
And it came around to me, and I never had that pleasure of being able to dunk on somebody, but I do remember twice being dunked on.
Uh-oh.
And one of them was by you.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, Mark.
No, I remember like it was yesterday. We were playing at Milliken your senior year, and I was defending a 2-on-1 break. And I believe it was Roscoe Boykin pushing the ball up the floor from Weber High School. And I had to stop the ball. So I stopped the ball, and then he dished it. And I had no idea who was on the other side. And as I turned, I saw 34. And I just remember saying, oh no.
Oh no. Thank you. That's
no.
nice.
And you threw one down. I think it even might have landed on top of my head. And, you know, the Griswold Center just exploded. And yeah, I'll never forget that. But
Well,
the other person, that dunked on me though was Orlando Woolridge.
oh my goodness, he dunked on everybody.
Yeah, you're in good company.
Well, I want to say to you, Mark, we had, those were rivalries, and those were good games, and the fans showed up. You know, I know this is COVID and post that era, but man, if the game, that North Park Milliken game was sold out a month before the game.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you go to basketball games, and these guys, you have 100 people in the stands, maybe 250, sparse crowds. No, and I'm not being upset with this day and age, but you know, we didn't make films of ourselves. We didn't make big time videos to send the people. We just played the game. You know, we played it, Division III basketball is sports at its finest. Not no money, no. It's just competition. Guy mano a mano, a guy, a girl trying to face another guy, another girl, and we're stringing it up. So okay, here, let's get at it. And the fans are there, the people were there, and it was just amazing, man. I almost feel sorry for the people in this day and age who don't have that fan base, don't have that support. I mean, Millikin North Park, that game was packed.
Yes.
I mean, it was packed. The Wesleyan game was packed. Before the JV game was packed. You remember?
Right.
The JV
You're
game
absolutely
was
right.
like full stands, And
Right.
so I just I reminisce. I digress, but yeah, I think we've lost some of that, especially in the high school and junior high and high school time. But college is still great and pros is still great. But I think we've lost some of that in sports nowadays.
All right, Wayne, one more question and then one more comment from you. What was your favorite CCIW gym on the road to play in?
Oh, that's easy. Oh, my goodness. Believe it or not, it wasn't Griswold. That was our home school. But it was Fred Young Fieldhouse in Bloomington, Illinois, where they had springs under the wooden floor.
As if you needed them.
Oh my goodness. Our guys who never touched the rim in practice were dunking in warm-ups, and we were like, and I felt at home. The fans were so vicious and so nice. You know what I mean? They were mean. Wayne Dunny's mom wears army boots. That was one of the t-shirts,
Yeah, Justin Monaghan heard them all.
Oh man, that was the greatest. Those were the greatest rivalries, and so that's one of my best, probably the most favorite place to play. I think most any CCIW player. I love North Park's coziness. It was almost like it's almost like a high. It reminded me of high school. It wasn't a big giant college gym,
right.
But it was an intimate. The fans were right on top of you. When you took the ball out of bounds, they could touch you. You check into the scores table, and the fan is one seat behind you. That's basketball right there. So North Park was my second favorite place. That's no kidding at all, because I love the atmosphere of those fans being right on top of you.
Mark, was it Wesleyan for you too?
No, I no. You know what? Probably because we never won there. But Wayne and I talked a couple days ago. The gym at Wesleyan, the old gym, the Fred Young Fieldhouse, it was very dark in there.
Right.
Yes.
And for some reason they had a habit. On one the side opposite the visitors' bench, up above the bleachers, they had a weight room there, and we would shoot there in the first half, and they would have the drapes drawn, so you would have all these lights and people lifting weights in the background. But amazingly, when Wesleyan shot there in the second half, they had the green curtain drawn.
Wasn't there light?
Oh, of course.
Wasn't there light coming in too from that side?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, when Wesleyan shot there in the second half.
You mean that wasn't a conspiracy that actually happened, Mark?
Oh,
it happened to us too, Mark.
Yes, it did. When Wesleyan shot there, they had the nice dark green background so they can pick up the rim better. Yeah.
Sure
But
did.
last question, Wayne. Last thing. Now, following you on Facebook, I know that you are a diehard Chicago sports fan.
Oh my goodness.
Especially,
Yes, sir.
it seems like there they are. The Cubs and the Bears seem to be your two favorites. Now, you're kind of on that border, for Cardinal country, but you've stayed loyal to the Cubs.
We are right here in the middle of almost the Mason-Dixon line, Decatur, Illinois, and it was about 50-50 Cardinals and Cubs, and it's just a friendly war, We love each other, but we love to hate each other too. And we love the Cardinals the fans were upset at me in 2016. They, I said, we got one. And they were like, well, they didn't want us to have that one,
Did you get choked up, Wayne, when the Cubs won it, like me and Mark did?
I cried like a baby. I remember I'm sitting in the TV. My wife went up. She said she was going upstairs, going to bed. I said, well, you go to bed. I'm watching history. And then the final out, and Chris, Mark, I sat there for a half hour and 45 minutes in total tears. I mean, just like a little baby. But man, I'll do it again. I was hoping to do it for another 4 or 5 years in a row, but you know what happened.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
What-
Well,
what-
Chris, anything else?
No, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you, Wayne, and we're so, like Mark said, so proud of all the work that you're doing for your community, and anything that we can do with the show or anything we can do to help, we'd love to do that, because we know it's for a good cause. So, one of the things with the podcast is we're really trying to focus on helping other people and getting the message out. And, the more people that hear, the more people that will contribute. And that's one of our things that we'd like to accomplish in the upcoming years. So thank you very much for being on.
Chris, thank you. And Mark, thank you for sharing a little bit of my history and my experience. And I just thank you guys for open up avenues for people who are, who doing the thing out there, and you are opening it up and letting people know about it. Let people know about us. If there's any way we can help or bless your podcast, you let us know. I hope this is not our last interview. Okay, guys?
We hope so too.
We'd love to have you back on, Wayne. Continue great work to you. Continue good health. Best of luck, and we'll be talking soon, okay?
Blessings to both of you. God bless you guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Wayne.
you, Wayne.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
It was certainly fun conversing with our friend Wayne Dunning, the Decatur legend. Hope you enjoyed the show. Peace.